All right, we're still at the 14th World Insurance and Tech Conference here in Dubai. I've managed to steal Mr. Silvan here on the one-on-one interview. My guest is Mr. Silvan A. Said, who's a chartered insurance practitioner and managing director, RISC Institute, based here in the U.A.E. Thank you so very much, sir, for joining us.
Thank you for the invitation.
Okay, now I want to quickly start by asking the 21st century insurance industry is faced with numerous challenges, but it does appear that chief of those challenges is the dearth of human capital in the insurance industry, from Africa to Asia, and even the Middle East. Even in the UK, in the US, is the same problem. But I just want to find out from you, what do you think is responsible for this dearth of human capital in the insurance industry?
I think basically, in a very short sentence, it's the image of the industry. I think over the years, the image of the industry has been this traditional men in blue and suits who are very stern and who collect money
and don't give
pay
back.
claims. So, so basically people giving an option will go for something a little bit more perhaps imaginative. And I think the industry doesn't come across as imaginative, which has been a perennial problem for many years. But I personally, being involved in development of human capital for the last 15 years across in Europe and the Middle East, I think it's changing, not as fast as one wants it to change, but it is changing. What the industry needs to do is to come across to people, especially the millennials, as offering very exciting and challenging career prospects, not as insurance people only. We have to also bear in mind that more than, let's say at least 50% of people who work in the industry are not insurance
people.
So the industry generates a lot of employment for people now in the tech. It's becoming, of course, very important. People from actuarial background become very important. People with a regulatory perspective. So I think the image of the industry needs to change, and we need to appear to be a little bit more proactive and less about men in blue striped suits and more about people who are out there to provide solutions for ordinary people.
Okay, now, Mr. Silvan, and that's where the problem is, because the image problem you talked about is not just for those who want to buy insurance. It's also affecting the industry and the caliber of personnel that they are able to attract to the industry. So now it's, as I said, is a twin-headed problem for them. How do you think they can overcome this challenge of attracting not core insurance practitioners, but all the professionals whose services are also, or skills are also needed in the insurance industry, but other sectors are also competing with this crop of personnel in other sectors that appears to be more lively than the insurance industry?
Basically, it's the same for customers. Insurance companies have to engage with customers. But in reality, the industry doesn't engage a lot with customers. We pay our insurance once a year. If we have a claim, we make a claim. So if you look at that angle, insurers also need to change the game. We need to get our customers more engaged. And it's the same thing, in my view, with human capital. We need to get youngsters more engaged. We need to get people who have skills in data science, skills in legal, to understand a little bit more and to be more engaged, if you like. I use this word, engaged, in how insurance works and why it is there, and what are the benefits of insurance to society, And then when I think when that kind of starts filtering through, and the brand insurance starts coming across as something more friendly, something more usable, something that we need not because the law says so, but we need because we need to plan our futures, and we need to have financial planning and all this. I think we will see more demand. I mean, if I take the example of the industry here, our the biggest number of people who are coming into our institute are people who came to look for a job in Dubai. Over here people come on a 3-month visa looking for jobs. They get a job in insurance not because they came to work in insurance, but they got a job in insurance. But within a year they like it, and they come to us to learn more. They come to us to become professionals with CII qualifications and all that. So there is something. I mean, I've been in the industry for 36 years. Somehow I stuck with it. I would never move out of the industry, whether as a trainer, as a consultant, as a manager. Once you're in it and you get into how it works, what it can do for society, how we can develop our products, how we can engage our customers, then it becomes much more interesting to work within the industry.
Okay.
So it's this bridge between getting people into it that we need to solve, and it's the image we need to.
Okay, finally, Mr. Silvan, for those who are already in the insurance industry, one other challenge that I see in my region where I come from, training and retraining of personnel. It's oftentimes not a priority. And you find in companies when they analyze their budget for a year, the slice that goes for training is usually the smallest. And if any other thing comes to offset the budget for the year, the budget for training is usually the first to be kicked aside. But so with that kind of mindset, how do you think they can actually develop this industry and get it? Because do not forget, some of the old hands, the old professionals, they are getting older, and most of them are retiring. And it's even in my country, it's beginning to show. In some, those that were specialists in some lines of insurance business in the 80s, in the 90s, they are no longer in the business. So today what you find are people who just come, they really don't have the in-depth knowledge of professionalism, or what was there last year, what's the rate, and that's how can they overcome this challenge?
Well, many times people, HR managers, ask me, so I'm going to spend all this money on training. How am I going to realize whether it's worthwhile or not? And I give two examples. The first example is, would you prefer to have 10 people in your department who are doing the work full of mistakes? Or would you like to have 6 people who are doing the work well? I think 6 people who are doing the work well is probably more economic and more effective and better customer relationship. So you need to train those 6 people and get rid of the extra 4. I know it sounds harsh, but that's the reality. I mean, it's better to be more efficient, otherwise the business won't survive. So, in my view, training is an investment, and the companies need to realize that there is a return in investment in cost saving, one, but more importantly in customer relationships. Building that customer relationship, you can't do it with people who are not trained to do it. And the other point I make in my sales pitch for training, is if you are a manufacturing company and you're investing $1 million or whatever you want in machinery, you then have to say, I need 20% budget for maintenance. So are you at least maintaining that budget? Like if you're going to maintain machinery, you still have to maintain training for people in insurance. We don't maintain machinery in insurance. We throw away our computers, we buy new ones. But human resources, we have to maintain that. And unless we realize that, that maintenance has to be, or rather not we realize, the top management realize that maintenance is, or rather that the training that goes into their human resources is as important as the maintenance that manufacturing companies spend on machines. What happens if they don't if they don't have preventive maintenance on machines in manufacturing company? The machines break down, the company produces bad products. It's the same with insurance. If the companies do not prioritize this training, which is the maintenance of their human resources, things go wrong, they lose market share, they lose their brand. So I try to, when I'm speaking to HR and even CEOs, I try to show them, they know, but emphasize this aspect that if they don't spend money to maintain their human capital, they're going to lose market share, they're going to lose brand, they're going to lose reputation because people make mistakes in a very sensitive industry. But I have to say that in my experience, let's say 50% of the companies I have met, and I have met a lot of companies in conference, etc., are serious about it. Are serious about it, and they maintain a reasonable budget. One point I want to make. Many times they ask me, what is a reasonable budget? And to me, a reasonable budget is another month's salary on each employee. So if you're paying a salary of X over a year, you have to calculate that 12X is for salaries, 1X is for training. That's a reasonable ballpark figure.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Silvan, for talking to us.
Sure.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.